Okay, I know yesterday was Sunday, but we're going to have a little lesson here from the first church of Nothing But the Truth. All right, and I want all of you to sort of understand where I'm coming from of why I'm posting um, things starting right now. Because if you haven't noticed, guys, I haven't really been that active with regards to answering questions over the last couple months. Um, it's been absolutely strategic. I've done that on purpose. I mean, we've been extremely busy, but at the same time, I just didn't want to get into these pitched emotional reactions because of what's going on in our country right now. And I don't care. I mean, choose your poison. Um, it just is one of those things to where you can't have rational discussions if you're in the midst of emotion. And when we have this emotional mob out there, and I don't care which side, all right, I'm not, there in my viewpoint and as the work that I do, I have no side other than your side. And that includes educators. Okay, I completely understand where you guys are coming from. I understand the parents that have, extreme beliefs when it comes to, you know, the masks. And everybody should wear them, because if everybody isn't wearing them, then, I understand all of those things. But this is where we have gotten in this country into a very, very, very bad habit of not having a dialogue. And because we've gotten into this, and I don't know, I mean, you can attribute it to a million things, social media, who knows? I just, the virulence and the inability to control your emotion in order to have a dialogue over things that you disagree with. Guys, I'm never going to apologize for doing that. We used to, I mean, humans do that, okay? That's how we make progress. That's how society should run, is that you throw out ideas and you have discussions. And then a consensus needs to build, and then you plow forward with that. But I will not bow down to fear. I will not bow down to it. Will not. It does not work on me. Threats don't work on me. Law doesn't work on me because I differentiate good law from bad law. And I am under no obligation to obey bad law or what I consider in moral law. All right? Because at the end of the day, guys, a lot of evils in this world have been accomplished through the use of law and the government taking control, or whoever factions within government taking control and making law, which then somehow justifies all the evil crap that they do. But at the same time, please, please understand from my position that what I do for a living is scrutinize. That's all I do. All right. I mean, you can get mad at me. A lot of you are. But if you think that it's having any kind of effect, I just hate to break it to you. You know how much I think about what some of you guys are writing to me when it's, nasty. It doesn't affect me at all. If you only knew the kind of stuff that schools and board attorneys do as I fight for all of your kids, as I fight for you as educators, I've had to develop a very thick skin. And I absolutely understand that my positions in this world are frequently going to be unpopular. And the reason that they're going to be unpopular is because I do not run with the status quo. I do not. I find that extremely dangerous unless it is backed up by solid ethics and solid morals. I will not sacrifice who I am inside for any of that. I'd rather go down in flames than to sit there and pollute who I am inside. And so my values, my intrinsic values are extremely important to me. But I think that there's a high likelihood that a lot of you are going to misinterpret what I'm doing as though I'm taking some kind of grand position. Okay? And does it appear that I'm leaning a little bit harder over to the reopening of school? Yeah. But why am I doing that? Well, I'm doing that because that's just reality, and that's just future. And we're not going to avoid it. And it's absolutely irresponsible in a civilized society for us to sit there and just somehow think that we can just continue down this path of shutting everything down and closing everything off. Because that's just not how capitalism works, guys. And you sit there and go, oh, he said the word, and businesses takes priority over lives. I'm not saying that either. But I also understand that humans are social creatures. And I also see spikes in suicide in this country occurring. All right? So then you sit there and you go, well, which deaths? So you see, I have the same concerns everybody else does. I'm looking at all the data. Unfortunately, the medical community has really damaged itself, and I don't know if it's the medical community as much as it is the media looking at this as an opportunity to, politicize the virus, which I feel is happening. Then on the other side, they make money off of scaring the hell out of people, guys. So read your headlines and then read the body of what you're reading. They don't necessarily line up a lot because they're trying to capture your attention off the tagline of the exaggerated headline. And so many people share the headline. They don't read the content. They don't sit there and think that there's other positions, that there's no consensus. There's no solid consensus on this virus, guys. Now, what makes this different, let's say the Spanish flu in 1918? Well, big difference is that we didn't have all this mass modern testing that we have going on. So we're in a much better spot. So there's a lot of things that we're learning as we go. And hopefully that those lessons that we're learning now will help future generations, maybe us again, if we have another pandemic situation. And I can promise you, the state governments are going to respond differently. Now you sit there and go, well, why do you say state government? Guys, this is a state government issue. I know everybody likes to sit there and blame the federal government, but the federal government is there to help distribute resources. But with regards to the state is the one with the police powers, not the federal government. People need to brush up on their civics. So this isn't a Trump issue. It's not a federal government issue. It's a state issue. It's a local issue. There's some states like South Dakota that didn't shut down, but yet cities and counties within South Dakota did shut down because they were given that latitude. And they made the choice based upon the needs of their citizens. Guys, all politics is local. That's where it starts. This isn't some grandiose global government we live in. And I think people are confusing that and not realizing that this is a state issue because the state has police powers. Federal government does not have police powers. We don't want the federal government to have police powers. That's the entire reason we have a government that's been structured like we have it. So every state is going to be different. And so all of you on this page, you're all over the country, guys. This is a very diverse page, and I'm proud of this page. I'm proud of the input. It's also a page that has a whole bunch of special education directors. It has a whole bunch of special education teachers, general ed teachers, parents that are teachers that are parents. We have a whole bunch of people on this page from all over the country. And I'm proud about that. But let's not be afraid to dialogue, because whether we like it or not, this is what's coming. There will be some kind of hybrid school opening unless you live in a state that makes a different decision. But in the states where I have offices, there will be schools open. There will also be distant learning and virtual learning options. Some of the states will have a mix of both, where kids can go and not go. And then I'm talking about both, where they go to school a couple days a week and then they go home for virtual learning. This is going to have to work in tandem. And it's going to have to be done safely, because we also have a whole bunch of teachers that are going back to work. And you know what really sucks? Being a teacher right now and being an administrator making these decisions. Because as you can see over the last 3 days, I mean, hell, I've made, I've shared 2 posts, and they've been wildly active with comments. And it hasn't necessarily been a positive exchange. But understand, I'm not against any of you. We have got to figure this out. And how do we figure it out? We figure it out through dialogue with one another. And I understand that a whole bunch of you do not want to send your child to school if other kids are there without masks on. And that's absolutely short-sighted. And those of you who have children that you had to condition to wear a mask due to the nature of their disability, bravo to you. I'm proud of you. I think that's great. But I can tell you, I had a discussion about this with a behavior analyst that I trust, who's the best that I've ever met. And I can tell you, the major concern that was shared with me is diverting so much time and energy and even creating a goal about making a child and conditioning them to wearing a mask. Now, I'm not going to out who this person is, because I know that a lot of you are going to jump down this person's throat if I was to mention their name. But as we were dialoguing with each other, do you see that that's the point? We're bouncing ideas off each other. And we can do it in a respectful way. And then, the reason I'm making this video, guys, is because I love to debate. And I am a smartass. And it's one of those things I wish I wasn't. That's not true. So, but I understand that that's not my purpose. And so I don't want to get into that, sit there and nitpicky kind of stuff. And I've found myself doing that. I mean, I've laced some comments over the last couple of days in a fashion that could have been worded differently. And that's why I wanted to sit there and just hit the pause button and let you guys know where I'm coming from on this. Okay? Because I don't disagree with you. I don't. I am going to be fighting for the kids that wear masks. I'm going to be fighting for those that don't. We've got to sit there and find a balance between the two. But if any of you out there somehow think that one or the other needs to be isolated and needs to be discriminated against, check yourself. Because we don't live in that world, guys. And I don't care if it's a disease, war. We don't sit there and shelve the Constitution to sit there and satisfy people's emotions. And that's where you're going to find here pretty soon the courts are going to start getting involved. And they haven't, but the courts will start getting involved. Hell, the courts got involved during World War II and prior to, and were slapping down things that the government was doing, especially during the Civil War with some of the things Lincoln was doing. Whether I agreed with them or not, there are limitations to what government can do in a constitutional republic. That absolutely has things to do with what we're talking about. All right? I work under civil rights law, and IDEA and 504 belong in that camp. And a school district, which is a public governmental institution, cannot discriminate, cannot do it. Now, when everybody's closed, then you see where there's equity and nobody's being discriminated against, you would think. But see, guys, we have a whole group of moderately to severely impacted kids out there that desperately need in-person services. My child's one of those. So you see, I have a different position as a father. And then I've got to sit there and take that hat off, father, and put on my lawyer hat. And then fight for those that have an opposite viewpoint and opposite needs than my own child. And guys, I've been able to successfully do that now for a very long time. And I constantly try to check my perspective. You know, at the same time, I do not shy away from argument, and I do not shy away from dialogue because it's desperately needed in this country. We are not seeing that now. What we're seeing is shaming. We're seeing shouting. We're seeing virulence. We're seeing a mob driven by emotion with absolutely no goal in sight. What is your goal? Tell me what your goal is. What is it that you want? And if it's some broad concept known as safety, good luck. Because I don't know of anything in this world that is safety guaranteed. Nothing. And so therefore that's just not realistic. And I can't placate that. You know, so it's just one of those. Sorry, my wife was about to come in and I was on a roll. See, she just knocked me off of my roll. So this is where I want to reset and understand that the videos that you're going to be seeing here in the near future, with me answering questions, they're going to be tough questions. They're necessary questions. We need to have a dialogue. We need to be civil in that dialogue. We need to work through these problems, okay? Because reality is going to happen. And like I said, your teachers, your administrators are caught in between a governmental whirlwind to where they have a legal duty to all sides. The scientific data is supporting a reopening. It is. Now you sit there and I say that, guys. Look, I understand that there's a spike going on. I get it. We don't know what that means for a few more weeks. So I can't sit there and just suppress everything based upon what might happen, could happen, should happen, it would have. We can only deal with the here and now of the information that is in front of us. And the information that is in front of us is that there is going to be a reopening with a myriad of different options to serve children. What I need you guys to understand, absolutely understand, is that the school district, being that it's a public institution, cannot discriminate. And it must provide a free and appropriate public education. And the federal government, thank God, did not provide broad waivers like everybody was thinking it would do. That 3 months ago, guys, you guys were all fighting for no waivers. So we got the no waivers, which means that the governmental institution has a legal responsibility to provide all of our children a free and appropriate public education. So how are we going to do that? Okay? Because distant learning was a disaster. But we learned something. So hopefully the fall is not that way. But there are children that need in-person services. There are kids out there that cannot, should not wear a mask and also need in-person services. There are staff members that will be going to work that medically or due to mental health cannot wear a mask. Respect them. Those of you who can't, respect those who want to wear one. But you have no right to bully each other. I'm in the middle. I don't think that anybody should tell anybody else what to do. Don't treat people like infants. Deal with them in a transparent, honest, in logical manner, and people will want to do the best. Guys, people don't want to die. But that's what's wrong. If the immediate thought in your head was, well, people aren't going to do that. Well, what makes you so special? Well, what makes you right? And you go, well, but I'm responsible. You're passing judgment upon people you don't even know. And you know what? All those people that you pass judgment on, that they somehow need everybody to hold their hand, are thinking the same exact thing about you. We don't trust each other, and we need to start trusting each other. But you need to do that through correct information and having dialogue and learning from each other, instead of only learning from one perspective. Guys, I have liberal friends. I have progressive friends. I have conservative friends. I don't identify with either camp. I don't. I am not an ideologue. I really try to understand the perspective. I'll debate with you, though. Hell yes. That is how we live in a civil society. We've got to have these discussions, and these discussions are going to be tough. It's going to upset you. Some of you. And if it seems like I'm tipping on reopening, yes, I am. Because I've got a lot of people that rely upon that. And then the other thing is that their voice hasn't been heard. Their voice hasn't been considered in all of this. Their voice has been stifled, and quite frankly, they, and that's including myself, because I'm in that camp. We've been silent, understanding what's going on, and understanding we can make it. We can make it through these months. All right. But it's time that they get an opportunity to voice that their children need services too, and that their children need in-person services. And it doesn't affect any of you at all that have those concerns, because there's going to be plenty of options. The only thing that I am cautioning parents about are the legal realities of what it means for a government institution to provide your child a free and appropriate public education. That is going to be something that I don't think a lot of you understand. But I'm sharing posts so that we can start having that discussion, so that I can start presenting that information, so that you understand what that balance means. And what I presume is going to occur based upon what we do know, not only from distant learning from the spring, but also some of the rules that do exist that's going to help guide us with regards to the least restrictive environment. And I don't think parents are cognizant of what that might mean. Okay? And it's going to upset you when I explain what that might mean. Okay? Because I have a feeling that a lot of board attorneys and a lot of state governments are going to say, this is what your IEP says and this is what FAPE is. And then if the parent chooses an alternative option, then it's going to be written in into the prior written notice, the PWN, that you selected something other than what the school system has stated they need to do in order to guarantee FAPE for the child. And there's a huge difference between what an IEP team decides, that's including the school system, who has the legal responsibility to provide a FAPE, and then the parent exercising their option for something other than that. Everybody needs to have their eyes open, but we can't get there unless we have an honest dialogue and battle and come to terms with the anxiety and the emotion and the fear that we feel as parents and also educators going back to work. We can deal with this, guys. There's always a solution, but we can't reach solutions without the dialogue, okay? And this is just for house cleaning purposes. All right, guys. I'm gonna, if I see the virulence, if I do, and I'm going to check myself, okay? Commitment on my part. But if I do see petty swipes, I don't care what direction, doesn't matter to me. You will have your comment deleted, and then I will send you a nice little, don't do that again, and you'll be on my naughty list. I want everybody to dialogue and learn to dialogue, and that means you might have to take up yoga and do some meditation and find your zen. You may have to do that. But guys, we need to do that. We're the adults in this situation, and we're supposed to be leading this world. And I'm talking about as adults. This is our time. Our kids are looking up to us. Not very proud of what we've done this year. Okay? Emotion. You need to check. It's including myself and pointing at me too. All right? See? You need to check like this, right? So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay? Wasn't my quote. I borrowed it from Ice Cube, but he's okay. We're friends. We pal around. All right. Thanks, guys.